Hey, good morning, and thank you for joining us for another Sales and Marketing FriTalks. Every second Friday, we share insights, best practices, and anecdotes from technology companies. There are over 1,000 unicorns in the world today, valued at more than 3.5 trillion combined. Imagine this number. It's something hard to imagine. Nevertheless, what ingredients do these successful startups bring to make it work so well? What do they do so differently? Is there any formula to follow? Let's try to figure out it with the help of our today's guest, Michael Kogeler, Vice President of EMEA, responsible for scale-ups and unicorns at Oracle. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to have you. Before joining Oracle, I think you spent a number of years working for many different other companies, including Microsoft and Amazon Web Services. So we really look forward to learn from your experience working with the software vendors and startups. And so please tell us, how did you came to this idea of unicorn formula?
Yeah, so it's an interesting, it's a good question. So I mean, like you mentioned, Andres, I've been working in different kind of cloud companies. Some people joke and say the only one you need to go to is Google. Then you worked at all four of them. But I learned a lot. I've been in the cloud from almost day one. You know, the days when somebody said cloud computing and you would look out of the window, like, what do you mean? It's not cloudy today. And I learned a lot in big companies. And then a couple of years ago, I was approached by well, before actually, I was at Amazon Web Services in managing Africa, and I had a big interest for the booming startup ecosystem in Africa. A lot of good stuff is happening there, and well, that's maybe another podcast. But then Microsoft approached me to start a new team, lead a new team, a global team, going after unicorns and scale-ups. And I did that job for a while, and then Oracle approached me to say, hey, this is very interesting. Come and do the same in Oracle. So I mean, again, I don't think I have the wisdom in my pocket. I don't think the formula is waterproof. Otherwise, I would not be here. I would probably in my yacht in Nice or something after a few successful unicorns I sold or brought to the stock market. But I was walking with my dog one day, preparing a presentation for a customer who said, hey, can you tell us what you do with hypos and with the scale-ups and unicorns? And I was walking my dog on the beach and I started thinking, so what actually makes a unicorn? What are the components of a unicorn? And then I started writing at home, just starting to put kind of things I bumped into in the years working with many of the big unicorns of the world all over all global and helping them with, I mean, innovation, partnerships, new markets, new products. And I started writing. And the idea was it was going to be a book. I had this inspiration, let's write a book. But then I became a bit too lazy, and the book is a lot of work. So I kind of ended up in 6 or 7 pages, which is the formula. When I posted it on LinkedIn, because it's on my profile for free. I mean, when I posted it, some people came to me and said, yeah, your mathematics is not right. Your formula is not right because it doesn't make sense mathematically. I said, well, I was always bad in maths, but it's more kind of listing the different things, which in my view are components to success. And at the end, I actually applied the formula to Netflix and a few other companies, successful ones and not successful ones. And it kind of seemed to work, funny enough. So that's where it came from. I'm actually writing because, I mean, you know, the world is a bit of a, well, I call it a funny place at the moment, I think. And there's a lot of worries about what's coming. Sometimes I feel we are talking ourselves into a recession. Because I look at many countries where I have friends, there's too many jobs, people are working hard, there's a lot of good stuff happening in the economy, even in Russia, where I kind of think, what's happening. But I started writing a document last 2 weeks ago, which is called Unicorns Can Swim, which is about how to winter this recession everybody talks about, but that's for later. So that's where it comes from. Sorry for the long answer, Red.
No, it was very, very interesting to listen to you, and I really looking forward to maybe another discussion about this new formula or new book what you are writing. But
we can.
Coming back to this formula, what you have kind of put together, Could you just maybe explain a little bit more what exactly makes the formula? What are the main variables and components of this formula?
Yeah, of course. So let me start again. Big disclaimer. This is all wisdom I got from unicorns and scale-ups. This is all
Yes.
stuff I saw in real life where they were struggling, where they were doing amazing. And I mean, to be fair, I think I have one of the best jobs in the world, and that's what everybody says. But I really think that because I talk to the most brilliant people of the planet every day, and every day I come home and I hit the back of my head saying, why didn't I come up with this idea? Anyway, so the formula consists of 4 big chunks, you can say that way. And within each chunk, like with a real formula, there's nominators and denominators who make kind of the chunks. And let me talk about the big chunks, and then we can zoom in if you're interested. So it starts with the idea. What is the idea? I mean, I speak to people and myself. I have a good idea every day, but not every idea becomes a big unicorn. It has to be an idea that, in my view, is simple, really simple. Don't invent a digital solution for people above 65 to fly them digitally to the US. That's a very complex idea. I mean, if you look at the most simplistic ideas on the planet, and the best and the most successful ideas on the planet are the most simple ideas. I mean, I bumped into one last week, and maybe you heard about them, Qbell, Qbel. I mean, most of us have a Ring at home, right? One of those doorbells. What they've done, they've changed the model. They just put a QR code on your front door, and you can read the QR code with your phone, and then the doorbell rings. It's completely coming with something completely different. Super simple. It's $9.95. I ordered a few just to test. It's super simple. So that's the idea. And the idea components consist of different things. And we can talk about that later on if you like. Then the execution, because that's another big thing. And if you are in a startup, when it's successful, you go from, pre-seed, asking your family and friends for money, to seed, PE comes in, Series A, B, C, D, E, whatever you want to be. And the further you get, the more your company you become. And executing your idea into something successful, is a whole different cookie. I mean, the further you go on the road, your skills change, in my view. It goes from having a brilliant idea, which my son of 15 can also have every day, but making that a unicorn, you get into different stuff. You need to be from kind of having an idea, making the idea work, having a product or a solution or whatever you do, scaling that into the local market, getting more money, scaling it internationally, scaling it globally, getting new versions of it, getting customers in. And every step of those things needs flawless execution. I mean, I haven't seen many unicorns where the founder, well, there are a few, of course, don't shoot me, guys, but many of them bring in external people over time. Look at Google. They brought in Mr. Schmidt to run Google. Larry and the other guy are super smart guys, but they don't feel they're businessmen. So that's the execution of the idea. And then the moment, that's the other one. The moment. You have to be on the right time in the market. I mean, and that's an interesting one, because, I mean, there's 2 things in there, which is actually the unicorns can swim thing, is that, I mean, look at the story about the Betamaxes of this world and the VHS and the Video 2000. I mean, the Philips system was far more superior than the other 2, but they came in the wrong time. It was brilliant, but it was too late or too early. And that you see that often. They come up with an idea of which the market is not ready. I mean, funny enough, talking about, having great ideas, literally 6 years ago, I actually have the business plan. I had a plan with a friend of me in Dubai to start a tailored doctor service, Skype doctors, to do consults over Skype. It was not done anywhere in the world. We tried it, we played with it, and we were too busy and we forgot. And then COVID comes. Boom. There they go. Hello, Doctor Care Anywhere. Hello, Doc. There's many of those services all over the world now. Booming, growing very fast. But if we would have done, I think, 6 years ago, it wouldn't have lifted, I think, because it was too early. Nobody was interested, because you could go to a doctor. Why would you go to a tailor doctor? He can't touch you, he can't feel you, he can't sniff you. So that's the timing, the moment. And then the impact. I've seen many ideas where I kind of think, that's a great idea. It works. It's there today. But why would I use this? What will this change my life? And it's funny. I mean, I always have discussions with Petra, my partner, where she's in AI. And I always ask people, so give me one example of this overhyped AI personal example which changes your life every day. Not something on the internet which makes you laugh or is fantastic, but what is the impact of AI in your day-to-day life? Is that Siri or Alexa? No. Or Google, whatever her name is. I can't come up with any. Yeah? And that's the impact. If something changes my life, to be fair, Ring does that. Ring is also a startup. They were bought by Google, fine. But that changes not my life, but it makes my life easier, because I can see who's at my door when I'm not there. I can open the door remotely. So these are kind of things. So it's the idea, the execution, the moment, and the impact. And then within of these, I've kind of identified the variables or the nominators and the denominators.
Yeah, I think this idea part is very important. I just read also some statistics about the startups and what actually makes them fail or make success. And what I found interesting that 42%, it's like majority of startups actually fail because there is due to the market needs. So they basically are not matching the idea with what actually market is expecting and what market need at that point of time. So and that is actually relates also to what we observe working with not startups or these unicorns, but just regular IT companies or software companies trying to come up with something on the market is that they often run on their own assumptions only. So they somehow overlook or do not calibrate these assumptions, what they have about the need of the market, about expectations of the customers with the real customer inputs. And that is very dangerous thing to do. But still, many of them following this path. So how this idea part in your formula looks like?
I mean, I think, Andres, I mean, you're spot on there. And to be fair, you can translate that back to parents. If you ask a parent about her girl or boy, they're always going to be the most pretty, most intelligent, most smart, most fantastic person on the planet. And I think that goes back to a founder. I think a founder, it's his baby. Literally, it's the baby of a founder. It's amazing. The whole world's been waiting for this. And sometimes I call that kind of like a tunnel vision. Like, okay, fine, yeah, great, but it's like this guy, this guy driving on the highway, and he gets this radio notice. There's somebody driving in the wrong direction, and then this guy says, "What do you mean, one guy? I see hundreds of them." You know what I mean? And you need to be ready for this stuff. So, I mean, if you go to the and again, guys, I mean, whoever's listening, I mean, I'm not claiming that I know everything. Please don't start bombing me afterwards. This is not right, because this is just my thinking. I'm very happy to discuss. But I think if you look at the idea, if you take the formula I put in there, and I mean, I'm rewriting it. Like I said, it first starts with being different, doing something else that people are not doing today. Because I mean, we work a lot with payment providers, for example. Amazing companies, one by one, brilliant ideas, brilliant solutions. But at the end of the day, there's not going to be 900 payment providers we need it in the world, right? You need 2 or 3 or 4. You know what I mean? Look at the credit card companies. There's only 3 or 4 in the world, the big ones. Yeah. And they rebrand themselves, but that's it. So, I mean, being different. I mean, if you look at Tesla, and I mean, you can argue if that's still the right one, but I mean, Elon Musk started this thing where everybody was saying, what the hell? Who cares about electric cars? Look now, I mean, so you have to be, I think for the good ideas, you need to be daring to be different, trying to do something different. Then the other thing is, and that's something I've seen a lot. For me, the best ideas are born by copy and pasting 2 or 3 other ideas into one new idea. You know, they see something working in one industry and they copy and paste it into a new industry. You know what I mean? They say, no, well, fine, we do this. I mean, if you look at, I mean, you know Uber, everybody knows Uber. In Dubai, there's something called Careem, which is kind of the local Uber. And meanwhile, they have been acquired by Uber. But what Careem did, they saw Uber. They said, hey, there's no Uber in the Middle East. Let's start the Uber for the Middle East. And Careem people, don't shoot me if I say it wrong. But I mean, that's what I got. Let's start a Careem in the Middle East, but add services on top of that. And they became super successful. And now you can do anything with Careem. My son orders food with Careem and they do deliveries. So, and then they were bought back. So they took an idea, added some other flavors, technology driven or not, and went on. The third thing is using new technologies. I mean, everybody in this call, I guess, understands that. I've seen one unicorn once, which was on premise. All of them are in the cloud. All of them are leveraging the latest technologies. All of them are leaders. It's cloud, no discussion. So use that kind of stuff. And then last way, I mean, what you often see as well, I mean, I'm not a big believer of industries anymore. I think the world is full of ecosystems. There's players who do good stuff. Industries is something from the past. And if you look at, doing something different, I mean, look at travel agencies. I mean, at the end of the day, it's called the Travelopedia, whatever they're called. They're nothing else, or Booking.com is nothing else than an online travel agency, with all respect. There's just no lady or guy sitting in front of you. It's a website, but it does exactly the same, because in the past, the guy or girl would do that for you. So they took something existing into something smarter, faster, using technologies, trying to be different, copy and pasting stuff. And there you have the idea.
Yeah, they have just modified the experience of the user. So they gave actually control what people were looking for. I think if you're speaking about the Booking or Expedia or things like that. But what I also thought that what you just described in the end of the day makes it as a value proposition, right? So, and more unique it is, the more chances you have actually to become a unicorn or at least successful startup, right? And that is also what again many companies overlook quite a lot. And just to give you another example, you just mentioned about the successful startups, but in IT industry where we work a lot, when you ask people like, "Hey guys, what do you offer? What basically you do for your customers?" Very often, most frequent answer I have heard is that we do everything. We can deliver you that. We can deliver you that. We also do, by the way, this type of services and everything else.
Yeah.
And if you think from that perspective, it is super hard to sell this everything, because actually nobody is looking for everything. Some people are looking for very specific thing for the very specific need. And that's something to keep in mind when you think of this component.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on. And I think, I mean, I mentioned in the beginning, and again, guys, I mean, disclaimer, but because it's just my fault. But I think also I've seen a few, not too much unicorns because they're a bit further, but I mean, scale-ups like Series C or higher, because that's typically what my team engages with in the VC world, that they stick to the idea. No, this is my idea. It's going to be squared on 4 wheels, radio control. That's the idea. Well, if you look at the Tesla, I mean, Tesla is not a car company for me. Tesla is a data company. That's what they are. But I think they started as a car company. And they realized that, hey, the car is nice, but hey, data is probably more important. And I think that's another thing you need to flow. You need to be super agile. I mean, I've spoken to startup founders who had 95 versions of their ideas, and they changed them all the time. The world's changing, the market is changing. COVID is an amazing example. I mean, suddenly, and in the beginning of COVID, I thought I was still in Amazon these days. I mean, I thought by myself, okay, this is going to be interesting. Now a lot of companies are going to be in trouble. But to be fair, I think most of the really innovative, cool startups, unicorn scale-ups, have actually flourished during COVID. Of course, if you are in the transporting people from A to B or in the airline business, it's a bit hard. But I mean, look at the remote doctors. Look at online services. Look at social media. I really think that, for example, a TikTok or a Snapchat, they benefited heavily from COVID, in my view. They probably will say, no, it's a great idea, good execution, fine. But there was another thing they didn't expect. And that's, I mean, in one of the, if you look at the execution, going to the next box, one of the things in there is luck. You have to have luck, really. I've seen guys with amazing ideas where I thought, holy Moses, this is going to be fantastic, dying after half a year. But there's no luck. The timing is wrong. The moment is not there. People don't pick up. Yeah, fine. So it's super fascinating, man. Really, I love this world. It's really very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michael, can I ask you, do you have some advice for founders? And obviously, I'm talking about startup companies a bit smaller than you usually manage, but still the same thing applies. You see, because managing a team of 5 people is completely different game than managing 50 people, which again is completely different game than managing 500 and 5,000 and so on. Do you have some words of advice of how to manage these transitions? Because game changes at these points.
Yeah, I go in very dangerous zone now, but because people say, yeah, you are. It's all in Holland. They have a saying that the best captains are standing on the side, on the how do you call it, on the port side and not on the ship. But look, I don't want to call it advice. Let me call you things I've seen, which I would, if I ever had to do a startup, I would do differently. I think one of the first ones is well, we discussed that about the idea and that stuff. I think if you look at the execution, because you go a bit into execution, let's assume we have this amazing idea. We have this thing or whatever it is working and it's nice. So how do we get it going? Look, willpower, great. You need to be fanatic about your thing. That's what they are. Realism. I think you need to be realistic as a founder or anybody. But to be fair, that's not only for startups, and that's also with real business people. Because we were together with Microsoft. And sometimes we did campaigns of which we thought this is never going to work. But okay, we have to execute it. That's insane for me. But I think one of the things, and I'm maybe talking a bit to my own kitchen here, but what I've seen a lot, and it's 100% understandable, to be honest, that they how do I put it right, that they are not fast enough in seeking help, support. And that goes back to my ecosystem story, where I really think, and to be fair, that's why Microsoft is doing this. That's why Oracle is doing this. This is why Google is doing this. Look, in Oracle, we're not trying to sell Oracle products to a startup. That's not what we do. We try to work together with them. And that there's a lot of gains for both sides to make there. Getting into new markets, asking for help to bigger companies. Because I understand it's probably very scary to go to Microsoft if you do something competing with Microsoft or something Microsoft can do as well to ask for their help.
Yeah.
But I don't think those companies think that way. They're also changed and they want to help scale. They want to go together to market. So I think that it's not only about money. Let me put it that way. It's not about more VC money. It's about starting partnerships, even with other unicorns or scale-ups. Again, like I said, 1 and 1 is 3. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Michael, but I wanted to ask, you as experienced unicorn hunter, can you elaborate a bit more? You mentioned that these companies are not looking necessary for money or something, but what's the thinking of really large companies, and what should startups know about them? Are they looking, let's say, to make sure that the next big data center customer will be running on their platform? Are they looking more to perhaps identify some IP, some companies they can later acquire and, let's say, turn into products of theirs? Or are they looking for let's say, financial returns or access to certain ecosystems? Or why big corporations are doing that? What they look for?
Well, look, I can change my T-shirt now and to put on my other side of the show T-shirt. But I think it's a mix of different things, and they're going to be different every time again. But and to be fair, in my Microsoft job, in my Oracle job, even in Amazon, look, let's face it. At the end of the day, my boss will not be amused if I engage with a unicorn and move them to Microsoft. At the end of the day, Oracle wants to get them to the Oracle Cloud. Microsoft wants to get them to the Microsoft Cloud and AWS. But that's not the starting point. The starting point is much more in what you say about, okay, they have a great idea. They have a good solution. If Microsoft or Oracle can help scale this solution across the globe, it will help the customers of those big companies. It will help the startup. And at the end of the day, if they're running on the cloud platform of the vendor, it will help as well. That's the main trigger for them to go after them, but not to sell directly. And then you mentioned acquisition. Yeah, of course. When I was in Microsoft, we did multiple investments actually in unicorns, big investments, as strategic partnership money to help scale and potentially buy them over time. Because sometimes they have better ideas, they execute something much faster than the big Microsoft or big Oracle can do. So that's secondly. And thirdly, it's serving their customers. if there's a hypo who has something amazing which could benefit the 25,000 customers of Oracle and 25,000 customers of Microsoft, that's an interesting thing to do. So it's not a standard formula. And to be fair, and that's what I love about this job, because we come in there. I mean, I always tell, when I meet a new unicorn or scale up, I always tell them, like, look, guys, we come in with an empty backpack. And then they ask me, what does that mean? I said, well, it's like kids going to school, first time to school in their life. They go with an empty backpack full with innocent questions. And that's how we engage.
Yes. Michael, one more question. We're working with lots of startups, and most of them are cloud first. They have large budgets. They're spending on cloud. You are unicorn hunter, but what would be your advice to be hunted? So should startup founders, I don't know, pitch you on LinkedIn, or reach out, or sign up for some hackathon, or send email to some email? What should they do to start collaboration? And how large should they be, or what kind of profile they should fit, so that for large corporates it would be interesting actually to have conversation with them?
Yeah, look, I mean, like I said, I mean, so again, that's my job then. I mean, so we typically look at Series C or higher for a simple reason that they need to have a certain scale. But that does not mean, because I remember, for example, in my previous job in Microsoft, we once engaged with a Series A in Israel, who were big enough. They got a lot of funding, and they went from A to unicorn. They skipped everything else. The idea was brilliant. So, I mean, of course, they can reach out to me. Happy to talk. I mean, we do a lot of data mining ourselves as well. So we have access to kind of tools, online tools. We do selections, but we're pretty flexible there. And I know my friends in Microsoft who still do the same are also pretty flexible in who they engage with. And it's got to be a process. I mean, I don't have slides here, but I have only one slide I use in those discussions, which is two dogs sniffing each other. And I call it sniffing of the dogs. And I tell them that's what we're going to do. We're going to sniff each other. If you have a dog, you know what a dog does. It sniffs. Who are you? What kind of dog are you? Can we play? Will you bite? That's the process you go through in a few weeks to see, is this interesting for both sides? Yes, it is. Okay, let's go. No, then we wish you Merry Christmas and we move on. But I don't think that, at least, I mean, for my team, not. Maybe Microsoft changed, but I mean, it wasn't that case. There's no like you have to do this, this, and this, and this, and this to come into this show. No, not at all. Not at all. Even up to the discussion about cloud platforms. I mean, look, if you are a founder, technical or non-technical, the last thing you want is disrupting your current infrastructure. Your technical team should be focused on releasing new versions of your products as fast as possible, as fast as possible. But that's where we can help as well. Migrations, doing stuff. It doesn't need to be everything at once, can be in steps. But look, but at the end of the day, and to be fair, I haven't had no discussion, to be honest, where they kind of said, yeah, of course we understand that you want. We do not understand. We did not get that you want your cloud to be used. They always get that. But I think, I really, going to your question, I mean, I think there's so much power in engaging with an Oracle or with a Microsoft or with an AWS, because those companies have a network globally. They have hundreds of thousands of customers. They have big partner ecosystems. They have global presence. I mean, if you as a unicorn or scale up or any startup can get into that ecosystem and can leverage that channel, is amazing. It will allow you to grow so much faster. Because I mean, if you guys are a startup and you call me in Dubai, I'm the CEO of a big company, say, yeah, we're company ABC from Latvia or wherever you are. I mean, Estonia, right?
Oh, we are in Latvia.
We are in Latvia, so I said it right. Sorry, I was mixing up. So anyway, from Latvia, I will say, yeah, who are you? You know? But if you say, hey, we are company ABC and we're working with Microsoft or with Oracle or with AWS and we're doing things together, we're interesting to talk, it will change. It's the same for valuations, because at the end of the day, look, they all want to sell or go to IPO, whatever they want to do at the end of the day, I think. I mean, I've met many super people I super much respect. They're like, I mean, the CEO, founder of Rapid, Arik in Israel, folks. I respect those people a lot because they had 2-3 successful exits and they start again. And they do it again. It's super fascinating to listen to those people, more than to me, to be honest. You should get him in a call. But I mean, getting a name like Oracle, Microsoft, or AWS as a partner or investor in your VC pitch deck or IPO pitch deck helps.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing for free, because it's just a partnership. So Yeah, I mean, we could talk for hours, and I guess I don't know how long the podcast is. 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, I think we continue as soon as we feel it's
Okay.
all set, or more or less,
Okay.
because the topic is really exciting. What I would like still to spend a couple of minutes talking about this execution part. And you said, that idea is great, but the execution, and we already discussed that the partnership is one of the ways how you can actually scale and execute better, right? And I think it applies to many areas. One is the technology partnership. Another one, what startups can look for the partnerships in terms of the sales and scaling their sales capabilities. Like you mentioned, Microsoft, AWS, or Oracle, they have hundreds or thousands of customers where you can actually access them with your product. And that is what typically I see. I see again many companies or startups, they are having like a founder which is the engineer or the software developer. That's how usually it comes, right? And they have very little understanding, or at least knowledge of how to sell, how to maybe market their products in the end of the day. And one of the ways is actually building these partnerships, or maybe at least asking for the help from somebody who knows how to do that, and that definitely will kind of accelerating their growth. Would you agree, or you see a different model, or is it better to build internal this capacity?
No, I agree, man. Fully agree. So, I mean, if you go back to the formula, I mean, the execution part has a lot of nominators and denominators, to be honest, because I think that's the most important one. And to be fair, I mean, you said look, software developers or engineers or whatever. I don't think they don't know. I think they miss the experience. Yeah. And the speed which is needed, because that's one of the things. The speed, because you have to go fast sometimes to get stuff done. So if I look at the execution part of the formula, it's a bit hard without the whiteboard, but I could have drawn it. But anyway, I mean, I'll talk about the nominators and denominators. So, I mean, one of the key components is I combine the willpower, realism, and patience. You have to keep going. And I mean, I'm in the board of 2 startups, 3, and I mean, I always admire those people because it's super, and they're very early, they're Series A or B. I admire them. They keep going and going, disappointment after disappointment. I mean, one of them was raising funds for a Series B, and he told me I had 93 VC meetings. And every time to come up with a smile and do your story. And at the end, he got his money. So willpower, keep going, keep believing. I think we discussed the realism. I mean, look, you have to be realistic that the world is not waiting for yellow hats that talk automatically to everybody. No, that's not ready. You have to get the realistic stuff and realize as well that you cannot go worldwide within a week. There's more needed for that. Patience, like I said, going to VCs 90 times for money, waiting for things to happen, waiting for products to go. And sometimes I feel some of them want to go very fast. Yeah, it's not important to do marketing. Let's go. Well, we're going to scale to the UK. I mean, one of the startups I'm in, where you can look my LinkedIn profile, you figure out who it is, but where they say, yeah, we're going to go in the market. And I had a board meeting 2 weeks ago where they said, yeah, let's go to the UK, let's go to France, let's go to the US. I said, guys, well, we have 85 paying users or 185 paying users in this country or in this segment. Maybe we should scale first, go big, make it work, prove it. And that's realism, patience, I think. Which is, I mean, sometimes I feel I'm the bad guy in those meetings. This doesn't make sense, guy. Maybe we should do steps back. And you see them looking at me like, really? Anyway, I mean, and then luck. We discussed luck. You have to be lucky, guys, really, because I don't believe that that the formula works always, because then everybody would have copied it and there would be 12 billion unicorns in the world. There needs to be luck. It's about being in the right time, in the right place. I think we all have those moments in our life where you kind of said, this is funny. I got this job because I spoke to this guy about this 2 weeks ago, and he picked me to the right person, So that's luck. Then in the top line, so there's 3 nominators here, and then this is the denominator. In the top line, space to scale a market. I mean, really, I don't think it makes sense to start doing something which only works on the Luxembourg market, which I've seen sometimes. Yeah, we're going to be a unicorn with the bookkeeping application only tailored on Luxembourg. Nothing against Luxembourg, guys, but I mean, I don't think Luxembourg is big enough. You know what I mean? You need to be able to scale. There needs to be a space. And then, I mean, some of them tell me, we have the world is our market. Great. How are you going to sell? What's your sales power? That's where you guys come in, sales marketing. How is it going to work? Partnerships, yourself. I've seen startups who, are 10 people and they start setting up offices in France and the US.
Yeah.
I said, guys, maybe you should invest in something else first before you go. So that's another one. And then on the below the line is kind of operational excellence. And that's where, I have some friends in the executive search world, and one of them told me a year ago or something. She said, look, Michael, if you ever need a job, you should go and work at startups, scale-ups, unicorns as a COO or CEO or chief revenue officer, because you bring a lot of corporate experience into the world where it's kind of going fast. Because I think many startups are startups, and that's what people love, with the bananas and the hangout chairs and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there needs to be a return as well for the money, my friends. So and to be fair, I would love that kind of jobs because I think it's a lot of fun combining things. But anyway, that's another discussion. So money, VC money is clear. And the funny thing is, the further you go into the cycle from pre-seed to unicorn, I think that becomes more important, because if you want to have senior people with 50 years experience in the big world to become your CEO, I don't think those people will come for a box of shares. You need to start paying those people. People have a price, especially in the market now with all the competition. If you just look at the tech companies, they're buying people from each other all day. Yeah? They have the big money. Startups can't. So that's another one. And then last but not least, going to the people part. And to be fair, when you called me a few weeks ago, Andres, about this chat, I looked at the formula again. And I think one thing I need to do, and I'm doing in the new version, the Unicorns Can Swim version, is people. People needs to become a separate block. Because I think people make or break. You could say, yeah, there's nothing new. No, it's true. Nothing new. People make a difference in a company. Is it Oracle, Absolutely. Microsoft, or a Series A startup? It's people. The good people, the right people with the right attitude. Talents. And the right mix of people. And I think, these kind of things for me are the execution. It's not that hard actually at the end of the day. And it's funny because, like I said in the beginning, at the end of writing the formula, I thought, okay, wise guy, take three unicorns. Two that failed and two that failed, two that were successful, and put the different what happens in the formula, see if it works. And funny enough, it worked. You can see it in the document. At the end, I've got some examples of a Netflix and two other ones. So and then if you multiply that by the right timing, you have all those things worked out from the idea, the execution, times the right timing. Self-picked or picked by whatever, like a COVID or gas loss or whatever. I think you can have impact, and that's the formula. It's super simple at the end of the day, and that's why I say, I'm not claiming to have the wisdom in my pocket. Far from, to be honest.
No, but I do. You structured it well, so I think again, probably there are some people who can say there is really nothing new on one hand, but on the other hand, what is important that to put everything in right order and to, more importantly, land it, right? As you said, the execution. And that is what probably is one of the main bottlenecks everywhere, not only in the startup domain, but whatever domain you take. So people might have great ideas and maybe even some money, but they are not capable enough to land it.
No, I agree. Yeah,
that is.
And the timing one is an important one, because one of the other startups, they use chips to make sensors, and they were doing amazingly well. They had big deals, hundreds of sensors out there. It's Connectera. It's a startup who do connected cows, and I love them. Yassir, the founder, is a good friend of me, and I'm super excited about what they do because they're really changing the world with what they do. I don't want to make an advertisement for them, but they change the world with what they do. So they connect cows. They've got sensors who measure 80 things of a cow, and they have an AI called IDA, which is the Intelligent Dairy Assistant. And what it does, it takes all the inputs from the cow, puts it in a big machine learning AI thing, and gives the farmer advice. This cow needs to eat more. This cow doesn't sleep well. This cow is ready to have babies. And they increase milk production. So fixing the world problem of food, that's where Yassir and his co-founder started, was how can we fix the problem of food in the world? Because there's a food shortage. It's not by getting more cows. It's by making the cows more efficient. So they looked at an existing problem. It's actually an interesting one. An existing problem in a different way. If you say there's not enough cows to make milk, you say, okay, let's get more cows, right? That's the first reaction of somebody. They said, no, not more cows, less cows, but more milk. But they are very much dependent on getting chips for the sensor. So they close big deals with the world and blah, 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 big contracts. Yeah. And then suddenly COVID comes, the world comes, chip shortage. And the price of that chip tenfolds or whatever. But you are stuck with a contract which has a fixed price per sensor. But your chip price, main component goes up 10 times, or I don't know how much it is. And that's about timing. Eh? You get into trouble. You know what I mean? Anyway, they're not in trouble, don't get me wrong. But it's just nice challenges you don't see coming. And there comes willpower, patience in again. Eh? You have to keep going. Yassir is kind of unstoppable. I love the guy.
Great example, Michael. I think we need to wrap up anyway, but definitely it's a good reason to continue when you are ready with your second edition of the formula, and maybe just talk through new elements and new observations and insights. But for me, it looks like I just mentioned there should be a system, right? And we know all the components of the system, but what is more importantly, to make these components work. Because if any of the component is failing, your system is failing altogether.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
That's basically where you need to pay a lot of attention and make your efforts on.
And that's exactly, you're spot on, Andres. I mean, and that's why the funny thing for me, the realization after writing the wisdom about testing the wisdom. And like you said, you can have all the numbers in there, but if one of them is zero, the whole thing is zero. It's very simple. And that's the funny thing. I mean, like what they say, the chain is as strong as its weakest link. If one link breaks, the chain is gone. So yeah, look, I mean, I'm happy to come back if your listeners want me back after I wrote my next version in a few weeks' time or months or whatever. But I mean, it was great being with you guys. Thank you for having me. I hope it made sense to the people in the call, but I will probably hear that after the call.
Absolutely. I'm sure people will be waiting for the next conversation, and I would like to thank you, and just to remind our listeners and those who are watching to us. So please follow IBD Consulting as a company profile on LinkedIn if you would like to learn more and get more similar insights and conversations like today. We share all that through this company page. Follow the hashtag FriTalks. That's the easiest way to find all the episodes and all the conversations around our FriTalk podcasts and broadcasts. And all of these recordings are also available on the podcast platforms of your preference. So go to Apple or Google or Spotify and search for Sales and Marketing FriTalks, and you will find more than 30 episodes with the leaders of many different companies who came and shared their insights and best practices. I would like to thank you, Michael, for coming and sharing your story today. I would like to thank you all, guys, who joined us live, and those who are listening us on the podcast. Wish you a great rest of the day, and stay tuned. We will come back soon with the next podcast conversation announcement.
Super. Have a great week.